Hello again, all you YouTube fans, and all you non-YouTube fans. Also, all you creepy dollman fans out there. Well, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. Someone that you already know. So, remember when you thought his true stories were at an end? They still continue this very day. I'll now leave you so that he can introduce himself. So I will leave you now.
Hello again there, YouTube fans, and all you non-YouTube fans. All you creepy doll man fans from across the whole entire globe, from around the world. I'm back with an all-new episode. It is January the 14th of 2018. Time is now 1:45 a.m. Okay, I'm back. But today's episode is called The Return of the Real Creepy Doll Man from Louisville, Kentucky. And his true stories still untold. The Second Coming is a 3-part mini-series, and it will be broken down into 3 parts. Part 1 begins now. Okay, I said I'd come back to do this if anything changed. And I meant when I say it. Let me bring back, if you don't know who I am, let me go back and refreshing all your memories and walk you back down memory lane one more time. This will be the last time I do this. I decided to come back and tell you now that I wanted to do this for all my YouTube fans, all my non-YouTube fans, and all you die-hard creepy doll man fans out there. I had to do this to bring it back. I had to go back and tell you from the beginning, if you don't know who I am, I'll bring it up a pack. In fact, to actually speed it up this time, that I wasn't your ordinary average Joe growing up here in the heart of Louisville, Kentucky, because this is where the creepy doll man's real #1 home is. This is where he is born, this is where he's raised, and this is where he's gonna die one day. Now, let's go back at the beginning. If you don't know who I am, I was just your average Joe growing up. I mean, just your average kid. I was born at Baptist East Hospital here in Louisville, Kentucky. I was born August the 24th, 1973 at 7:28 a.m. I was born to my mother Helen and my father James. Now the last name will not be mentioned. Just give me a second, I'll tell you what. I'm sorry, YouTube fans, but it's kind of hot in here. We got the heat on because it's cold outside. I'm going to bring up the speed that my identity will be kept secretly, because I will not give away my mother's and father's last real name until someone takes my personal Real Reality Challenge serious. Meaning I have a Real Reality Challenge going on as we speak right now on YouTube. Is the final non-payable ad from the creepy doll man himself. And it says Real Reality Challenge. This is the last one. So you want to be on ride on this one. It's open invitation to anyone. Family, friends, friends of the family, neighbors. It's also open for strangers as well as ghost hunters and all you demon hunters out there. This is the perfect place to go. But I can warn you, it's not an easy ordeal. I will bring it up at the very end, what I'm going to tell you in part 3. So I'll give you more information about that when it comes. But like I said, in this challenge, I need 2 to complete it though. 1 male, 1 female. That is all. You must be 18 years of age or older in order to do this challenge. This is a real challenge from the creepy doll man himself. Personally, thought of it before anybody else thought of it. This is a real challenge that's going on today. But now, let's get back into what I wanted to bring up. And I'm going to bring back the one that started this whole mess before I got this name. which I will bring up in the picture later. But I'm going to continue. I was growing up, and I can tell you my family, my mother and my father separated. And I was living with my mom at the time for about 10 years at the place where we used to live at 116 Waverly Court here in Louisville, Kentucky. At 40206 was the zip code. And we've been here for less time. We moved around different places, but before that I had my little adventures when we were living there. And I didn't tell you what happened. I had my first doll when I was 3 or 5, no, not 5 years old, but 3 or 4 years old. My mistake. 3 or 4 years old, I had my first doll. So don't call me a sissy. I only got to, have a doll for a very short time before I grew it. Later on, I got into playing with cars, Hot Wheels, little toy trucks, Tonka trucks, and I got into other things, Disney stuffed animals, and I got into Muppet stuffed animals. I got into different things. I got into Popeye, different other things, and I got into Godzilla when I was a kid growing up. I had a little cheap, play set that had a cheap Godzilla with the original three-headed monsters. It didn't have a body like everybody thinks it had. It had 4 legs and 3 heads, and it had slightly no wings, just a tail. But I had it for many, many years before I broke it. Then I got rid of it when I sold it got rid of it a long time ago. I kept it for many years. I got in other things as well. I got in Battlestar Galactica. I bought those figures about, I think they came out 76 or 77. The same time I think that the Star Wars came out. And I got into them when I was a kid. So I got out of the stage of playing with a doll and went right into the action figures. And I've been playing with them ever since. When I got in the early 80s, I changed your deal. After we moved by 80, I was probably about 11 years old before my father died. And sad to say, after he passed, things wasn't the same without him. But, I went on. Life goes on. I've been with my mother and been blessed with her for many years. She's now 77 years old to this day. And I try to do the best to help her out because she's in trouble with, with her health. But let's get back to it that down memory lane that I went in different things. I started collecting G.I. Joe from the cartoon series on action figures. The little ones, not the big ones, the little 3-inch ones. Excuse me. And then I got into the Transformers in the early 80s too on their action figures. And then I started collecting other action figures from GoBots to you name it. And I got out of the phase and not, playing with them no more. And I started collecting the Star Wars again until probably about 1999 when they brought out the Phantom Menace. And I got back into Star Wars again. And I collected so many Star Wars. I just collected so many action figures, as well as trading cards, magazines, jewelry, jerseys, you name it. I collected all. But I was like a swag king, collecting all up my junk as a kid. And growing all the way up to being an adult. I started collecting everything over again when I was adult. And I can tell you, brought back some good memory lane on some of this old stuff that you couldn't find no more. But I had my ways of getting it, so if it wasn't for eBay the time when I was working, I wouldn't got most of that stuff now in a few other places. But things went my way, and my mom used to have a friend where she used to work back, and she mentioned it because I used to been babysit by her, which I didn't mention earlier, I'm sorry. But I was babysit when I was about 3 to 5 years old to go over this lady's house that she knew for many, many years. I met her sons, which is Bruce and Jimmy. God rest his soul that he's dead now. And I knew her daughter, and she had another daughter. But I knew the youngest one, which was Sissy. That's the name she went by. Nobody knew what her real name is. But she used to run around with my sister when she was a teenager. And for many years we hadn't seen her. About 2013 is the first time that I hadn't seen her for many, many years. She brought me home one day when it was real hot. And I was coming down there from Thorntons on Brownsboro Road, coming back, trying to get home. She caught me, she saw me, she told me, "You need a lift." And I said, "Yes." I didn't recognize her at first until she told me who she was. And then I started to remember. And it's been a long time since I've seen her face. But, I brought her home like I promised. She told me to ask her to bring me back, but also she wanted to, talk to my mother because she hadn't seen her for many, many years. So I let her introduce herself to her, and she got a surprise. And my mom was sort of happy to meet her and see her again. And, Sissy has been blessed by coming back and forth, helping others. She helps a lot of people. And she's been blessed. She usually gives us stuff for free, no charge. Usually give us slightly used clothes with new clothes. And she used to give us jewelry, from cheap costume jewelry to real gold jewelry. And I got a lot of gold pieces in here for real, that's real. And then she gave us other things too, stuffed animals, and about different little things. The last thing she brought us was the big ordeal. If I didn't get that, we got it certain time that before she stopped bringing all this stuff, she brought us 2 rounds of stuff full of garbage bags. The first one is the main one, and it's what it has been. I will be back to bring back in part 2 the return of the creepy doll man and his true stories still untold. The second coming, part 2, will begin here in a few seconds.